Hi. In the following video, you're going to see me in action demonstrating something called the presentation diamond. This is a user-friendly structure that you can apply whether you're telling stories or giving formal presentations, short ones, long ones. And there's three parts to it. The first part of the diamond is the triangle at the top, which is the intro, the hook. How do you pull the audience in? Then introduce who you are to the audience. And the second part is tell them what you're going to tell them. Now you're down in the middle, the body of the presentation. And here it's three sections, point 1, point 2, point 3. Under each section is an A, B, and a C. So essentially you're going to take all the content you want to say and you're going to find a way to organize it in these three sections. And then the last part is the bottom of the diamond. This is where you tell them what you told them. Now, this may feel too repetitive to you. Trust me, your audience will love you for it. Then the second to last part is the Q&A. Answer those challenging questions or have some of your own ready to answer. And then the very last part, the bottom part of the triangle, this is what we call the call for action or the final point. What is the one thing you want them to do or remember as a result of your presentation? So have a look, enjoy, and go apply it in your life.
6.5 hours. 14,000 people. 42 kilometers. This is the Engadine Ski Marathon that I have performed in the last 20 years. I've probably done it 9 or 10 times. I'm going to tell you about how I first discovered. Okay, so now I'm already right here. What I'm going to tell you about how I first discovered the Engadine ski race. I'm going to tell you about what it took for me to get ready for it and be successful, and finally, the unexpected hidden gift I got as a result. So, how I first discovered this race. 20-ish years ago, my friend Karen said, "Amy, my husband's going to be in this race in the eastern part of Switzerland. Come with me and we could be his cheerleaders." I said, "Okay." Because I say yes to a lot of things. We get to the race, and we're outside 6.5 hours watching these 14,000 people skiing past, doing 42 kilometers of either classic skating or ski skating. And at the end of the race, Karen turned to me. She said, "Amy, we should do this next year." I said, "Karen, you don't know how to ski." She said, "That's okay, you'll teach me." So the first thing I did when I got home was I calculated how long it was going to take me to ski 42 kilometers. 8.5 hours. I would have been disqualified from the race before I finished it. So now that I told you about how I first discovered the race, let me tell you what it took for me to be successful. So I don't, like many of us, I don't like to waste money. So I made myself go buy, let me explain. Classic skating in the tracks is slower than ski skating, which is kind of like rollerblading. It's more physical, except it's also faster. I had been doing classic. So I thought, okay, if I buy the ski skating equipment, then for sure I'm going to make myself learn how to do it, and then I can probably finish the race in the time allotted. So I bought the equipment, Karen bought the equipment, we had our lessons. And a year later, or maybe a few months before the race, we were training whenever we could and getting ready for it. We get to the Engadine ski race, and I'm so stressed and I'm so nervous that I'm going to suffer. That's to me the failure. It's going to be painful. The morning of the race, I'm doing my stretching and everything, and I hear a pop, and I went, "Oh, I injured something. I won't be able to do the race." And then I was like, it's fine. So I did the race. And the adrenaline of the crowd, of the little caffeine pouches, it was shocking how the combination of those two things together, I finished the race in 4 hours and 44 minutes. Now, God was also behind me going, because I literally, at one point, standing still, and I was still moving, because the wind was luckily at my back that year. So now that I've told you about how I first discovered the race, what it took for me to be successful, let me tell you about the unexpected gift I received. this sort of started happening a couple of weeks after the race, my confidence level was increasing in unrelated, not physical sports activities necessarily. I was more direct with client negotiations. I was more assertive in other conversations with people. I was daring to take more risks. And I realized, oh my gosh, it's because I did that scary thing. So now that I told you about how I discovered, first heard about the race, what it took for it to be successful, and the gift I got, I'm curious to know, what questions do you have?
Will you do it again?
And yes, and I have. I just finished a couple of months ago. It's always the second Sunday in March. And this year I actually got disqualified. For many reasons, I'll defend myself over dinner. They did reinstate me. That's also a good story, staying partner.
Yeah.
And now that I've shared the story, there's the one thing I want you to remember. Or the one invitation I have for you. If you're looking for an opportunity to increase your own confidence, I encourage you to take on a physical activity and go for it. Ta-da! Hope somebody. In fact, my brother Kevin, who was given this presentation diamond as a gift from some professional, wrote an entire book called Make Your Point. Then he wrote a second book called What's Your Hook? He wrote an entire, little book. Kevin Joseph Carroll. He wrote an entire small paperback just on hooks. So, capture their attention. Then you introduce yourself, if that's appropriate, if it's an audience who may not know you. Yeah, John.
Is a question too simple or strange of a hook? The question seems fairly simple.
Brilliant.
Okay.
You obviously want it associated with content.
Yeah.
Then you're going to tell them what you're going to tell them. Now you're in the body. So today I'm going to talk to you about 1, 2, and 3. So just listen to the structure of this. Let's first talk about point 1. Point 1, blah, 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 blah. Listen to this phrase. Now that I talked about point 1, let's talk about point 2. Blah, 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 blah. Now that I talked about point 1 and point 2, let's talk about point 3. So we call these transition phrases, back and forth, back and forth. If you're doing a long presentation of an hour or so, they will be incredibly grateful because part of your job as a presenter is to be the bus driver and let people know this is where we came from, this is where we're going. Then when you're done today, we talked about point 1, point 2, and point 3. What this means for you is, so here, I skipped the Q&A. So this has probably brought up some questions. What questions do you have? Can you count those 10 seconds? Maybe no one has questions. Well, in that case, here's the one thing I want you to remember. And then you nail it with the final point. So the final point is what's the one thing you want them to do or remember as a result?
What did you think? Pretty user-friendly, right? Well, if you want your own copy of Make Your Point, head over to Amazon and check it out by Kevin Carroll.